2019 as a must-read by the Massachusetts Center for the book, and named as a finalist, which is a pretty big deal for the Holistonic, I can never say that, Book Award. She is also the author of In the Year of Ferrero, again, Nix's mate. Thank you, Michael McGinnis, for being such a supportive. After Bird, winner of the Gray Book Press Open Reading 2016. And her work is also widely published. She is also an editor for Mom Egg Review with Cindy Beach, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, co-editor. And if you haven't taken a look at this, what a gorgeous, gorgeous, beautiful, very high-end journal. See if you can pick one up to support these wonderful editors and poets. Let's give it up for
Thank you. Bless you. Thank you so much, Gloria. Just grab this book. I'm going to read a poem for Kathy as well. I felt so bad when she called and said that she had broken her wrist. And I had just finished her book. And so I'm going to read her poem, She, where she has a broken wrist, which is she. Outside the hurricane, inside she, pacing, cursing her broken left wrist, all she can't do with just one hand. Outside, the large limb of a maple snapped, one end caught on a power line, the other balanced on her car, which can't be moved lest the limb fall and the power line break. Inside, she wants to escape, walk in the angry weather, but when she opens the door, firefighters shout, "Live wire, back inside." Inside with the man who shouts at the firefighters, "Don't just stand there, do something." When the rain quiets, she opens the window, hears her neighbors calling to one another from their front porches. She wants to join, but as she heads out to the street, they point to the line dangling in front of her house. "Go back in, go back in." The man inside has stopped sulking. He's on the phone talking, then quietly sketching in his small book. She puts dishes away with one hand, wanting to chip them, bang lids against pans, be blown away by the wind before it dies down. So her book just came out from Tiger Bark Press. It's available on their site, so get it. It's really a great book. Again, thank you so much, Gloria, for inviting me to read with Eileen and Savinia. It's really an honor, and it's great to read live. It's so much nicer than Zoom. So I'm just going to read a couple of poems from my Tarantella. This came out a few years ago, and then move on to some newer work. And I realized most of my poems have music in them, and didn't start on purpose when I chose these. A God lives in the amygdala. I heard Amy Winehouse today, jacked up fast and techno for my heart. The leaves fell the way Rilke saw them fall, all motioning, no, no, no. I heard the brown bats that roost under the bridge over the lead mills, and the cats crying in heat with the warn and want of a baby. I live in a jewel-tone neighborhood. One day, as I strolled past the quietest house, a small forest of Queen of Night tulips blossomed into a whole night sky. Next day, each queen stamen weakened, let loose, and wept. Do you know that nothing outside of our mouths will save us? A God lives in the amygdala, but he is weak too, asleep under the new moon. Did you see an angel's viscera across the sky? Back when I was young and always brokenhearted, I too fell into a fever and drank vodka chilled next to fat Have lemons in the bowl. So this, it's funny, you just remembered David Bowie not too long ago. It was the anniversary of his death in 2016. And I truly believe his death ushered in all the badness that happened. So, but anyway, we can talk about that later. So this was written right after he died. The tin colander with stars. Which eye should David Bowie peek through the crack in the kitchen door to see you with? The right one, blue and tight, the good girl? Or the one that can't close its black, an eclipse in the middle of the day, a cervix, shiny button on a neo-white shirt? The red lipstick over your open mouth, did you smear it with the back of your hand? Will Bowie see you peel down your jeans? His lightning bolt, where will it land? Across your face, all electric blue, all red from your lethal temples, zigzagging the eyelid, the mouth? All day I've thought of stars, me, unbalanced, cord and loosed from the tin colander-colored sky, dogged diamonds squeezed 1,000 years in a fist. I searched the junk drawer for my mezzaluna to rock against the oak board, the old one, shaped like a pig my grandpa saw. His old belts used for straps, they hung on their hooks, brown snakes. You'll get the strap. They hung in the hall next to the wine bottles in wicker baskets, next to the herbs near pool stone. The rooms you throw portend Bowie with his one working eye and his bolts. Did you feel the tremors all along the earth's fault lines? Did you hoard candles? What is perishable in the pantry? What will keep in the autumn heat? Hot pasta water pours through the holes punched in my old colander, dented thing, dropped or flung. I stole it from my mother across its convex concavity, stars and stars and stars punched through with a nail from the workshop. Will Bowie be healed now that he's dead? I'm owed the past year. I'm owed 50. Bad eye, anisocoric, can't constrict, can't whistle or kiss, won't change color, be blue. So I'm going to read some poems from my chapbook, In the Year of Ferraro. Thank you, Michael. It's from Nix's Make Press. And the year of Ferraro was 1984. And that was the year that Geraldine Ferraro was nominated to the vice presidency. So I started writing these poems about her and about the 80s, which I barely remember. So if you've survived the 80s, you know, that's a good thing. So, yeah. These books are also in my forthcoming The Queen of Queens, which will be available for pre-order probably by the end of next week. Oracular. In the year of Ferraro, I loved my drugs, my runic lewds, loved to dance under those mirror balls, thought I was beautiful, thought I was heard. I carried a skinny mirror back then, wet my gum, shaped my brows, saw the sky, saw an 8-ball moon, I saw the cure. The First Lady loved astrology, loved Chanel, she loved her little body all wrapped in red, a real picker-upper, she said. The cut glass mirror beads on her De La Renta sheath refracted light, all crystal white. She read the stars, she loved her husband's moons, his metal pig, his licorice beans. On a mirror, I wrote my name in powder, deep bellied beneath a nightclub floor. I heard half disco punk feet dance over me beneath the mirror ball. Could you hear me? Whole nights and into the next spent dancing. We loved our drugs, we loved our lewds, we tossed back the luminous rooms. You are heard, they said you are beautiful. So Nancy Reagan had a White House astrologer, you know, which is good because they ignored everything else that was going on in the country like a pandemic. Her name was Joan Quigley, and I have to say her biography was amazing. It really was. Like this woman like knew way too much what was going on. So she would tell him like where to go, where Reagan should meet with people, and you know, when and where, and you know, do all these charts and everything. The star sign of the Moscone Center, night of the Democratic National Convention, July 19, 1984, was Cancer with a waning moon, was a salt water teardrop sign, was least lucky in love, held sway over the head, the teeth, the tongue, was a leopard lady crab from Long Island Sound, sidled up to the stage and sang like Cyndi Lauper, I want to be the one to walk in the sun, polished her purple pincers until they shone under the hot lights, tasted the salt dripping off of Ferraro's pearls, felt extra mean and wanted to bite, molted and rehomed herself in America, wondered where the sun would be placed, wondered when she would shine. Okay, so we can't deny that the 80s had the best clothes and best music. I don't know. I'll that's a hill I'll die on, so.
Definitely the best.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So I totally date myself in some of these. Why I began writing about vice presidential candidate Geraldine Ferraro. Behind Commonwealth Avenue, next to the old dome temple, they turned into an observatory. The theater premiered Flashdance. After that, no one wore a sweatshirt without the neck hole torn to the shoulder knobs, like Jennifer Beals, who unhooked her bra, pulled it from the sleeve without ever breaking eye contact. Someone smarter than I must know how many times I've orbited 3 decades. Everything then is happening again. Back in the 80s, a rich man raped his wife, and now I have to look at his face every day. Last night, I streamed Jennifer Beals on all my devices, how I love her every move. Of course, she was a welder during the daytime. I took the one freshman in my dorm who looked like the steel mill owner up to my single room. What I mean is, when my joints pop, when I'm like a maniac on the floor, ghosts come. I don't come to anything in quiet. Maybe it was there on the cold linoleum, maybe against the cinder block bricks. Maybe it was in the towers with this stupid boy on top of me that I was hopeful I could conjure anybody or anything I wanted. So the other thing that repeated itself from the 80s, again, the pandemic, which was ignored. This poem, the title is from the Talking Heads song, Life During Wartime. I sleep in the daytime. You know, when everything shut down, you know, like just time stopped meaning anything. I sleep in the daytime. Yesterday, in my half-lucid dream, this. 2 pearls just outside my bedroom window. I know they were my parents. I watched a movie deep into that night when time stopped mattering. All the angels in heaven were sent by God to destroy us. They came down the road, the sky was a dark ocean. Believe me, the women who've come to me in my poems hold my parents deep within their bones, and now I have to keep still in my sadness. The coastline where I live is shaped like hooks for miles. I walked 3 beaches at low tide. Washed up rocks made a moonscape, some white and speckled like the eggs of a great reptile, some rusted tiger's eyes, some smooth, iridescent. And just 2 more. Back a few years ago, Molly Ringwald wrote this great article for New York Magazine. And the title was, What About the Breakfast Club? Revisiting the movies of my youth in the age of #MeToo. And the Breakfast Club was, you know, this huge movie when I was young. But this was a really interesting article. And the title is taken out of what she was saying. It's called And Yet, and Yet. And yet, at the end of the movie, Molly folded her left diamond stud into Judd's fingerless gloved fist, which he pumped high, triumphant, frozen in that 80s stop action, rewarded after a day at Shermer High School, Shermer, Illinois, in 1984 for his slow clap after her perfect cleavage lipstick rub. How ashamed she was dragging the color from her own full lips, after calling her Queenie for hours, after crawling through the tunnel her legs made below the desk where he ducked, and I could feel it, his long dirty hair tickling the insides of her thighs. I remember loving that suede sarong, to own such a thing in high school, and how she matched her outfit perfectly, the pink V-neck shirt with that rich brown pelt. And I'm going to end with, so the poem I'm going to end with actually came from the same idea or draft as the first poem I read. So that means like it took, 7 years to write these two poems from the same idea. And again, just passed another anniversary of the Challenger explosion. So this is the Challenger, January 28, 1986. I came home to my mother and cried myself into strep, fevering over a boy who wouldn't answer me, wouldn't stay, or maybe I was just sweating absolute vodka out through my skin. She was folding my father's shirts. Later, she would fold washcloths over and over, and I married that boy. Neither of us could read stars or runes or bones or crystal balls or entrails. It was a clear blue day and so cold no cloud could form, no bird in the air. They'd flown south. I suppose they migrated or they died. I could see the sky from the basement windows, see the blue coming through, reflecting off the wood paneling and the gold linoleum. We watched the clear, warm Florida sky on the big television in the cabinet with the stereo and its linting needle. The rocket carrying the teacher climbed, smoke billowing white clouds, the only clouds on the eastern seaboard, it seemed, and then the intestines of a white god spread. I wondered, is that supposed to happen high up? I wondered if my boyfriend would call, if I could get more coke. So high, 48,000 feet above the Atlantic, the rocket curved at its apex and began its fall, returned home. 2 years into his second term, the president assured us all that the future doesn't belong to the faint-hearted. It belongs to the brave. I will meet it with joy. Maybe he didn't know, couldn't tell us they were alive in that ship, alive for the slow arcing high in the blue sky, alive for the long descent to the ocean rushing up to meet them. Thank you.